You're watching PCTV Channel 17, proudly serving the Port Clinton City School District community. The following is a production of the Port Clinton High School Digital Media class.
Welcome to Time for Health. I'm your host, Rachel Fall, and we're very glad you've joined us. We hope you gained something from the program that helps you and your loved ones. We want to arm everyone with as much information as possible so we can all make good choices. This is not to take the place of regular medical care, so be sure to include your healthcare provider in on your plans and your conversations. And today we're talking about disability awareness, and we have two gurus here with us. Tori Thompson from the Ability Center and Erin Sanders from the Ability Center of Ottawa County.
Correct.
Thank you for being here. You're my go-to call when I'm playing social worker, when I need something. So I appreciate you doing this for us.
Thank you for having us.
You got it. Talk a little bit about the Ability Center of Ottawa County and what it does and all that.
We're an independent living center for people with disabilities. So basically anything to assist a person to live, work, or play within a fully accessible community.
Okay.
So
And you serve
all age
of Ottawa
ranges,
County?
all
Okay.
disabilities, all of Ottawa County, and we are actually a satellite office of Lucas County.
Okay.
So we serve 7 counties in total, including Ottawa, Wood, Lucas, Fulton Henry, Williams, and Defiance County. Ottawa County office focuses on Ottawa and Wood County in particular.
Okay. So anything that somebody needs so that they can live, work, or play independently. And you said all ages, so little kids, senior citizens,
Birth to death.
everything in between.
Got it.
All right. Well, we're glad you're here in Ottawa County. And I guess talk a little bit about what a disability is. When I kind of started doing a little bit of research, there's things that I didn't think were disabilities that are, or things that I thought were that aren't. So what is a disability?
You always know that definition, Jyoti.
A disability is anything that limits a major life activity. So any type of disability. So it could be mental, cognitive, developmental, physical, emotional, behavioral, you name it, speech delays. So we encompass all disabilities at our center. We look at a person as a whole and try to allow people as a whole to figure out what it is that they can do in life and figure out how the community as a whole can accommodate them and their needs so that they can access everything.
Okay. So disability, you said I usually think of physical disabilities, and I'm sure probably you get that a lot, but it's all kinds of disability, mental, emotional, all of that counts as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What are some of the, somebody who has mental retardation or developmental disabilities, ADHD, all those, everything, the whole
Anywhere
gamut.
from ADHD on, depression. Depression can get as bad and impair your life. So anything that impairs your daily activity also.
Okay.
So, my husband wears Coke bottle glasses if he doesn't wear his contacts. So when he doesn't have his contacts in, he's pretty blind. So,
Yep. I'm with him.
Yes. So it can be anything as, ADHD to cerebral palsy to MS, spinal cord injuries, anything in between there. You have hearing impairments, visual impairments, speech impairments.
Okay. A lot more than probably people think.
Yes.
Okay.
Autism.
And as I was reading through things, differences, and this was maybe kind of a language thing or something that people aren't used to, but the difference between a disability and a handicap. Talk about that.
Well, Erin and I have kind of 2 different takes on this. So handicap, I've always been trained that handicap came from the terminology of the guy standing on the street corner that had a disability, that had a handicap, that could take his cap off and beg for change.
Gotcha.
So in the disability world, we refer to it as a disability because people aren't handicapped anymore. They are not sitting on the street corners begging for change. People with disabilities are working, paying taxes. They're trying to live independently. They are living independently. They're CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. They're actors, big name actors. They're presidents of the United States. So a person with a disability is a person first with a disability, as opposed to a handicapped person.
Okay.
I think of it as ways I have a disability. It's something I can't help, but it's something that I live with. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, you know, I do my daily thing, I work. A handicap, I feel like, is something you place upon yourself.
Okay.
And it's more of a mental barrier versus just having a disability.
Okay.
You hear a lot of people, well, I'm handicapped. Well, it's more of an attitude to me.
Gotcha.
Than
And that's what I was kind of reading in the literature as well, that the disability is whatever disability you have. The handicap is what you can't do because of that disability, and a lot of that, like you said, has to do with what you place on yourself or, you know, kind of a victim mentality kind of a thing.
right.
So that's kind of the difference. But I think that language change, do you hear people just kind of use them interchangeably still? Probably.
A lot. A lot more in the older generation, but
Sure.
we still have the like parking signs where I'll call it rock star parking, but it's accessible parking. But you still see on there as handicap parking.
Right.
So I think it's going to be a long time to change the language barrier there,
Gotcha.
just because it's been around so long and it's on everything, in everything.
Speaking of language barriers, because you brought it up, you use the word retard and mental retardation, and the push right now too is against mental retard, utilizing that.
Right.
It's the R word now, and it's just disability or
Gotcha.
a mental disability or developmental disability is the proper terminology for that.
It used to be the board of MRDD, and now it's the board of DD, just developmental disability. And it
And
just
a
takes a long time to,
And
if
a
you
lot
don't
of
work
it
in that
is,
world often.
Sorry. A lot of it is just because of the negative stigma that's come along with it.
Sure.
So, I mean, you hear kids that's retarded. They use it as stupid. Well, and I always tell them, you know, if you get to know these kids, they're as smart as me and you. Like they're not. So
Right.
they always kind of look back and, you know, I don't hear them say it anymore because they didn't think about it. But
Right.
a lot of the terminology is just that negative that
Right.
goes along with it now. And a disability doesn't have to be negative. I wouldn't trade mine for the world because it's taken me places. So
Right. What are some things that you just want people to know about disability awareness? There were so many things that were helpful in some of the articles that I was reading, some of them written by people with a disability, like I wish people would know. Like we were talking earlier, like about if a child or an adult stares at the wheelchair, is that good, bad?
I don't think it's a bad thing until the parent says, don't look at that, don't look at that. I love when kids come up to me and ask me about it. They're curious, it's natural. You know, I find myself staring at people and they're like, oh, look at their outfit. It's just what we do, it's human nature. So I look for any opportunity to educate. And then they see, you know, because I drive independently. I've never had a van, and nor will I probably ever have a van. Hopefully in the future I have a Mustang. So, and then they see that I have a son, and I have another one on the way, and they see that I have a husband. So it's, you know, it's just
It's okay that they ask?
It is okay that they ask. For me, it's also a personal thing. Some people might not be okay with their own disability, so they take it as offensive.
Gotcha.
It's also how you ask. If somebody asks me what's wrong with you, probably not going to get the best answer back, because to me there's nothing wrong with me.
Right.
I have people in Walmart that want to pray for me to just wake up and walk one day, and all I can do is I'm praying for you to be more open-minded. So it's, you know, and I've always said from the time I was little, God made me this way to make a difference in the world. So I'm just out there living and letting people watch that I'm happy, and that there's nothing wrong with how I do things and
Right.
why I do things the
Right.
way I do. So
You talk about how you like kids to ask questions. We had some family at my house, and my uncle just in the last year had his leg amputated, and my kids haven't seen him yet, and I was kind of like, oh, how's this gonna go? And he just lifted his pant leg up. He's like, look at this thing. He's got a prosthesis, and kids were like, you know, open mouthed, but they were asking questions, and he was totally, you know, it's a curious thing, and if you are like, don't ask, don't look, that's, yeah, that
Right.
it's not really.
if you make a big deal out of it and make it known that that's a difference in somebody, that's when you get the fear and the setbacks and stuff. But if they just see that you're just out there living how they are, they're usually a lot more open
Right.
to acceptance. And especially with kids, start early. And I always say, put any kid in a group with other kids and they end up just being another kid, because kids don't see that.
No.
It's not until the older generations put that stigma on them.
Right. What about asking or people wanting to help, wanting to, opening doors? If someone is blind, helping a blind person across the street or something like that, is that good, bad, indifferent?
I absolutely encourage people to ask, but I also encourage people to wait for the answer. People ask me, "Oh, do you need help up this ramp?" And by the time I know when I'm up the ramp, and it's like, "Well, I really wasn't going there," or I get in the winter with my loading my chair in my car. I have some people just stop and stare, and they're like, "I know you people like to be independent," and I'm like, "Well, it's like 30 below.
Feel free.
Us people kind of want to get in our cars too, so we're not, frostbite." So I definitely encourage people to ask in any situations, but just be patient and wait for the answer, because a lot of times I'll say, "No, I've got it." It takes me longer to explain something, but I let people open doors for me all the time because they're heavy, and
Right.
so
it's okay to ask first.
Yes.
Don't just
assume.
wing up behind somebody that
Yes.
has a wheelchair or
Yes.
whatever. Okay. So ask first and wait for the answer.
Yes.
That's
we
the key.
have friends too that intentionally do not get the handles on the back of their wheelchairs, so people can't intentionally grab their chair and push. Because some people, it shocks them. Like the minute that you put your hand on a wheelchair or any adaptive equipment,
Right.
it sends a jolt. The adaptive equipment is part of the person's body
was reading
themselves.
that, yeah.
So if you put your feet on it as a resting stool, poke it in any way, it's part of the human being of them
Right.
and how they keep balance and how they move about their day to day. So it's appropriate to ask first and wait for the response.
One of the other things I was reading about was it just offered helping a person who's visually impaired to have them grab your arm so you can help guide them versus pushing them. Just so many things that you wouldn't think about. Are there other tips for either for you personally or things that you've heard people say in your profession that you wish people would know?
Well, in visual impairments too, you got to remember that you're talking to somebody that can't see your face, that's remembering your voice. So you also have to make sure that you tell them who you are when you walk into a room. So if somebody's sitting at a desk and you walk in and blabber off everything that it is that you want them to do and then report back to you, if they don't know who it is, then they're not going to be able to report back to you. But leading them, you also want to make sure that it's okay that they need that assistance. So oftentimes people with visual impairments will say, "Yeah, yes, I would like you to lead me to the next place." And holding your shoulder is oftentimes one of the things. Like they'll just put their hand on your shoulder, or holding the back of your arm is appropriate. But I mean, a lot of people also are very proud of their disability and they want to do it themselves. So they'll have a walking cane or a guide dog or something
Right.
along those lines that will help them be independent on their own.
Okay.
The other piece of advice I probably would say is to always talk to the person. I am 30 years old. I'm, like I said, I have a family and everything, and I saw people that if I go shopping with my mom, they'll talk to my mom about checking out. So always make sure you talk to the person, even if you don't think that they understand you. Just eye contact and let them read their lips. Maybe if they have a hearing impairment. Never, ask them to repeat it. Don't pretend like you understand them or anything, but always talk to that person. It's really degrading when they talk to, or they'll ask my husband, "Oh, are you just transporting her?" No, pretty sure I'm not. So I mean, it's the assumptions are what get you.
Yeah.
And but it's a lack of knowledge in my.
Right.
They don't understand. They've never been.
Right. And that's kind of why we're here today.
Yes.
All right. We're going to take a quick break and we will be right back talking more about disability awareness. more about disability awareness. We were talking about different scenarios, and one of the things that sometimes makes me feel kind of awkward if I'm talking to somebody who has a disability that affects their speech in some way is if I don't understand what they say back to me. If I want to say hi to them or how's it going or just be polite or something like that, but I don't understand necessarily what they say back. So sometimes I avoid the situation, and that's not very nice. Do you have any tips?
We say to never be shy about asking them to repeat themselves. You know, like maybe, sorry, I didn't get that. We really don't ignore them, you know, because they probably get that 100 times a day from other people that feel the same way.
Right.
So just try to talk directly to them so they can read their lips, so maybe they can understand the question better too.
Okay.
And then they'll try to talk directly back to you a lot of times, so maybe you could understand it better then. But just ask them, and if you get to the point, maybe like ask them to say it slower, or
Okay.
But always, you know, don't ever just pretend like you know what they're saying. Just, you know, it's okay to say, you know, I'm sorry I didn't get that. Can you say it again?
Okay.
Or try to repeat, did I hear you correctly? Did you say?
Okay.
And if they say yes or no, then you know, then
I've
you
still
can
got
carry
work to
on
do.
for
Right,
the
okay.
conversation. The other thing is to say yes or no questions. A lot of times
yeah.
people will ask for like sentence
Big-
dialect or
Yeah.
are you doing okay today versus how are you doing today? People
Good
could say yes to are you doing okay today question versus how are you doing today
Right.
question usually is elongated.
Yeah.
So
Didn't think
so,
about that. See, worth the price of admission right there. Other communication tips, language tips, anything like that you have for any?
The only other thing that I would say is just be aware that a lot of people have hidden disabilities that are not visible to the naked eye that people can see. So learning disabilities, oftentimes autism, some developmental disabilities, people can't see them on a regular basis. So oftentimes with learning disabilities and autism or some of the developmental disabilities, they take you very literally at what you say. And the English language, we use things a lot of times of what we say is not what we mean. And so say the things that you mean, because if somebody does something, it may not be that they're negating you and not doing something the way that you want. It could be just the terminology that you use to get them there.
Gotcha. So a lot of times it's just kind of thinking ahead, like asking a yes or no question if you know somebody has speech issues or anything like that, or thinking very clearly about what you ask somebody to do if you know they process information differently than the way you do.
Or just being cognitive or aware of what it is that you say on a regular basis in the community and changing that too. So I tell people, take 24 hours, think about everything that you've said, and then how somebody would do that based on what you said. Do it with little kids. Little kids will do exactly what you tell them to do. It never fails. And if you step back and realize like those things are what you told them to do and try to rephrase yourself, the more that you practice rephrasing yourself so that you're not using that language, the better you will be at communicating with others too. And other people that you come in contact won't have that barrier.
Gotcha. And a lot of this seems like just not being afraid to ask the questions and waiting for the answer and just thinking through things. And you guys have the Ability Center has a website. Are there tips on that website or other links from that website that people can find?
Our website is a wealth of knowledge. There are links everywhere with different tips and different, we have 10 commandments that we go by, and it's just like little tips on, you know, if you come across, there's a video that goes along with it, but I'm not sure if that's on the website or anything.
Okay.
There's a People First one, that's a really good one. It's always putting that first, or that person before the disability instead of, you know, John, he's the cerebral palsy boy. It's, you know, there's so much more about him besides that. So it's just putting other things before, and you know, a lot of times it doesn't even need to be mentioned. But if it does, it's he, you know, by the way, he might have.
He's the person with that. He's not that.
He's not the disability with the person. It's the person with the disability.
Right.
So.
Okay, so they can check your website out.
Yes.
All right. You have two big projects that you do, Day at the Range and your flagship play place. So talk about those.
So Flagship Collaborative Play Place is the new playground structure that we're raising funds for Lakeview Park. So we it's an all-inclusive, all-accessible playground. So anybody can go. And I know in the communities it's been advertised as the disability playground. It's not. It is allowing people with disabilities to come and play with everybody else.
Gotcha.
This is the first of its kind in Northwest Ohio, and we're proud to have it in Port Clinton. So kids now, instead of being ADA compliant where there's one lower item that a kid can play with to the 5 higher items like slides or stairs or any of those, kids can get to the highest slide. Kids can play with the thing that's on the top platform. So they could play tic-tac-toe on the top platform with all their other friends. They will be able to play imaginary play in the lighthouse structure. All of that, they'll be able to swing, because we've never had an accessible swing at the playground. They'll be able to utilize the merry-go-round feature and the zip cruise. So everything is there, not just for kids, but it's also there for parents that have disabilities, like Erin,
Right.
that can now go and take her kids to the playground. For grandparents that can't manipulate the stairs of the playground, that want to play with their kids or
Right.
grandkids still regularly, they'll be able to use all the structures. So it's 100% inclusive for people.
And I like that you said it's for everybody, so all the kids can play together. It's not just children with disabilities play on this playground.
Right,
Yeah, that's perfect.
It goes back to just letting kids be kids.
Right.
So, and as a parent perspective too, it's a safety thing. If I take my son and he falls, I can't get to him on a regular playground, where this will allow me access to be able to get to him, not rely on somebody else that's not their kid, that's not their job. So I can have a little bit more at ease that I can get to him and play with him, and
That's very
it is-
cool. Just the thought of never having had the opportunity to swing before. How cool will that be?
We have older adults that have disabilities that have never played on a playground in their lifetime that are excited about this, because now they get to go swing.
Yeah.
Like, they get to go do things at the playground that they've never done. So imagine
That's
being
awesome.
an adult and not free playing at a playground before.
Right.
I think it's pretty impactful.
Yeah.
So.
And you have some opportunity. I mean, there's sponsorship opportunities. It's a major undertaking financially, but also putting it all together. There's an opportunity for families or businesses to help with that kind of stuff too.
Absolutely. We're still looking for donors. We are about $50,000 still away from our end goal to raise the $600,000. And we are still looking for volunteers for the community build, which is going to be June 3rd through the 13th. So we ordered the park in December with the hopes of raising the full funds
Right.
in the community. So we're hoping to be able to pass over that check on June 13th to them for the final everything, and then have volunteers to come out between June 3rd and the 13th to help build the playground. So over 18 can actually be on site building the playground. Under 18 can be there doing hospitality, so checking people in, making sure people sign liability waivers,
Gotcha.
providing food. We're still looking for donations of food and beverages for the full days of the community build. And anybody that really wants to support the project, I would be happy to talk to them.
Okay, very cool. Then call you at your office.
Absolutely.
And then you guys do an awesome event, A Day at the Range. Talk about that too.
Ohio Day at the Range came from a project in Missouri that is, I think, Missouri Day at the Range. And what it is it's any outdoor activity made adaptable and accessible for anybody to do. So if you wanted to hunt your whole life and you've been told you can't, you can. So we have shooting skills, fishing, archery, bicycling. I mean, there's been adults 30 years old that's never gotten to ride a bike. So it's pretty. We've had kids end up, people end up crying because they've never gotten to do these things. We also have birding. So any outdoor activity that you've
Gotcha.
ever wanted to do, we've made it so you can do it. And it's out at Camp Perry CMP.
Okay.
And they've been really good about, we get to use pretty much any space we need out there. We are looking for volunteers and participants. We're hoping it's the third year to double numbers and stuff. We have a lot more new vendors this year coming out. We're trying to get portable climbing wall as one of them. So, and I got to do that in the fall. That was a lot of fun. They made it so anybody can do it. So
That's awesome.
The event runs September 24th from 10 until 2.
Okay.
And then we're also looking at evening activities.
Oh, okay.
So last year we offered evening activities. We did adaptive scuba diving here at Port Clinton High School.
Nice.
We also did additional archery at East Harbor State Park.
Okay.
People had to bring their own equipment there and use the archery. We did adaptive birding at a National Wildlife Refuge. And this year we're looking to try to secure a fishing charter that will offer a discounted rate so that we can do a fish charter even if it's Sunday morning, to encourage people from all over Ohio that come in to stay in and participate in our
Nice.
county, so that they can stay in and see the different accessible means that we have in the community, and just to love the great outdoors. Because oftentimes people with a disability are told, you know, you can't do that. There's no means to do that. Well, we want to show that opportunity is there.
Right.
And there are different types of tools that you can use to allow you to go back out and do your hobby, even though you had a stroke and maybe can't utilize your hands the way that you used to. There's tools to allow you to do
There's
it.
things out there.
So
That's kind of your whole thing. There's a way.
if there's a will, there's a way. We will find it. Yes.
And so that's in September. And you said your participants, if somebody's interested in participating, again, anybody with any kind of disability is welcome.
and
to
their family and
their
friends.
family.
So
Great.
it's a family event. And it's not just to show the individual that they can do it, but it's to show their family and friends that they can do it. Because a lot of times it's them who put that barrier on to a person. So it's a family event. Lunch is included.
Okay.
Registration for both participants. We ask that everybody that's coming, so the whole family, please register for T-shirts at the end.
Okay.
And lunch count, and all of that is on Facebook and a website for
Okay.
that. And there's also registration for volunteers.
Volunteers that want to help. That's a very cool opportunity. Lots of cool opportunities that you guys are providing in the county, as well as why I call you. I need a walker or a raised toilet seat or
Yes.
something like that. You guys can help with that stuff too.
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks for being around.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to take another break and we'll be right back. And we're back. I want to thank Tori and Aaron for being our guests today and sharing all of the resources, all of the awesome opportunities, and talking about what a disability is and what a disability isn't. And basically, do your research, ask questions, don't be shy, look into things, and certainly all their efforts are worth. If you want to volunteer or if you know somebody that could participate again, I'm sure you can get in touch with them. Their office phone number is 419-734-0330, and their website is www.abilitycenter.org. So whether this is helpful for you or whether you know somebody that all this information might be helpful for, spread the word. If you ever have feedback about a program or a suggestion for a future episode, please let us know by sending a note to Time for Health, 615 Fulton Street, Port Clinton, Ohio, 43452. Or you can email Mrs. Pelz at the high school, cpelz@pccsd-k12.net. So again, think about what you learned here today, use the information yourself, and share the information with others. And until we meet again, I encourage you to make time for health.